Join us here for a tour of the BMW M2 CS from the Los Angeles Motor Show, exterior, interior, of course also the engine spec here in Misano blue color. Let's go. So in the front, of course, some parts are the same as we know from the BMW M2 or especially the BMW M2 competition. Then above that comes the BMW M2 CS. And you can see here the black vertical fins in the double kidney, also black frame around. Then this carbon front spoiler, this is special then, definitely really massive. And also an additional element here on the hood. So it is indeed open, not just a design element. And here we also have those adaptive LED lights. This one is still the current generation of the BMW 2 Series. There will be an all-new generation coming up as well. So this one then here, the pinnacle of the sofa generation. You know, there's already a BMW 2 Series Grand Coupe, which is on a new platform. But this platform will not be shared here by this two-door coupe. It's 4.46 meters or 176 inches, the length here of the BMW M2. That's of course not different here with the M2 CS. Here you can see 19-inch wheels mounted in a special golden color. That's, you know, pretty much screaming out to this, yeah, very strong blue color. We could also call Thomas Blue, because one of my favorite ones. However, you don't have to go for this one with the M2 CS. So you can also get, you know, a bright wheel or a black wheel, whatever you prefer. Then there's an M2 badge here at the side, carbon fiber mirrors, and you can see here they are also aerodynamically optimized, and stronger side spoiler right there in this typical coupe shape, black frames around the window, and here in this case we also have then the carbon fiber roof. So this is one of the parts where they saved some weight. If it will play an effect overall, well, yeah, I think you have to find out on the racetrack. On the street you'll probably not find out, but maybe on the racetrack if you add up all those weight savings. So, do you like this very aggressive style? In the rear you also have this carbon fiber spoiler right there, another carbon fiber element above the exhaust, and 4 exhaust pipes, and those are really real. No fake exhaust here whatsoever, of course. M2 CS, of course, this one will be changed into a normal number plate, although this one also looks quite fancy, you know, like a showroom car on the street. That would be nice. So we also have a rear differential lock here that comes standard with the M2 CS as well. And they put the adaptive sport suspension that is featured from the BMW M4 in this car to give you someone, you know, still a span between comfort and sportiness. So under the hood we have typical for the M2, the inline 6-cylinder, 3-liter of displacement, turbocharged, and in this case 450 horsepower. That means 40 horsepower more than with the M2 competition. Pretty interesting. It won't change so much for the acceleration figure, but still, you know, more horsepower. Then you have this carbon fiber, you know, strengthening element, so to increase the stiffness of the chassis even more here in the front part. Well, but you pay about 33,000 euros or dollars more for this model if you compare it to the M2 competition. Yeah, if that's, you know, worth all the upgrades, that's on another sheet of paper, definitely. Just have to think about it. So this one here, then 95,000 euros, for example, being in Germany, so close to 100K. Yeah, that's really expensive for a 2 Series, but it's also the top of the line model, definitely. Well, so what do you think about that, guys? By the way, the top speed is 280 kilometers an hour or 174 miles per hour. Yeah, about that. Door closing sound. That's actually pretty solid for a two-door coupe, pretty nice. Then the interior here is, let's say, not exactly hard pack, but a little soft, but not very soft, so something in between. Then we have a lot of Alcantara insert, for example, here at the inside of the doors. Then a lot of carbon fiber is used here, for example, already at the door handle. M2 CS entry badge for that. Then my most favorite feature is this Alcantara steering wheel. So microfiber surface, really good for sporty driving, and it's also entirely round. I prefer that to the asynchronous steering wheels the BMW M sometimes does offer. And oh yeah, that's the most important thing, manual gearbox, way to go. You do not have to go for it. You can also get a dual clutch transmission if you want that, DCT, just as same as for the rest of the M2 line. But here you can also stay with the manual gearbox. Pretty cool for purist car fans. And then those seats, those are special sport seats with more shoulder support. In this case here also with the animal skin spec, which is of course not sustainable and also not that sporty. They should have used also the Alcantara seats then in the middle to make the sporty touch really, you know, how it's meant to be. But let me take a seat right here. So Holger steps a little bit back. And the thing is, you know, this old platform does not offer too much room, but still in the front, you know, you get along quite well. I'm 1m86 or 6'1". If I have the seat in the lowest position, there's still some head clearance left there. Then the steering wheel can be also adjusted up and down and also towards you and back in again. It also has a subtle 12 o'clock mark, then I know what I'm doing. And this has a really, really good grip due to this microfiber. And again, the size and just, you know, that's actually pure round. That's really cool. So definitely tells you, you know, this is one of the very, very few pure driver's cars left on the market. And you do get along here, right, you know, very well. It's okay. It's nothing too fancy, definitely, because I mean the car is now from 2015, and you know the base even a little bit older, so it's not the newest infotainment system and so on and so on. But this one here is all about driving, you know, about the sound and just the driving experience. So you can also live with some of the, you know, somewhat dated features here. Optional Harman Kardon sound system, by the way, in this car delivers also a nice sound here, even though we're just in the compact segment. And we have the cockpit overview for you right there. This is interesting here, CS, microfiber cover. This is pretty cool, but not sure why they're not using that more often, also on normal models. This one here is slightly soft pack. It's also not really soft, but also not super hard. Again, something in between. Well, I like that we still have manual climate knobs here, and also for the volume. There will be also infotainment system right here, but at the moment this car is not properly powered, and I also promised not to start it. Yeah, red start-stop engine button, by the way. And then the lower part here, this one to control the infotainment system, also while driving, the usual control knob right there. And this is again a cool feature, this microfiber, you know, also the shifting back here, and also then right around this middle console. This is a special element together with even more carbon fiber being used. So this adds more of this true racing feeling. And you also have separate buttons, for example, to make the suspension, this adaptive suspension here, stiffer or then even more comfortable again when you're just driving on the road. But this one, definitely a car you can also take on track. If you want to take the risk of taking a 100k car to the track and maybe damage it, would you do that? Or would you rather take your old MX-5 with aftermarket parts for that than to take the risk? Please tell me in the comments. Steering wheel, by the way, here, right side for the volume control. And the left side is then for the cruise control settings right there. And instruments will be rather classic. You know, they look dark at the moment. They will just be illuminated from the back, and so they look digital, but they're actually not. So it's like a mix of analog and digital, so to say. Seat belts, by the way, also with the M colors. That's pretty neat right there. And yeah, it wouldn't be a complete Autogefuehl review if I wouldn't try to get in the back, although the car's not really meant to do that, you know, that way. See here, you can slide them forward a little bit, like this, electrically. So that's actually a quite easy entry then. Of course, it's, you know, rather a dark hole. And my tailor won't like that. By the way, here the seat, seen that one? Here those holes in the seat. This is again a lightweight sport seats right there to get the weight down just a little bit. And I could actually still drive now in the front, so that would work. And I mean, it's not super comfortable back in here. It's still okay, but knee room wise, it does work, also headroom wise. And a short look here at the trunk, because you might also want to go to the groceries and, you know, race your supermarket parking lot. And there we are. So normal again for the 2 Series. You can also unleash the rear seats right there if you want to load through some things. Of course, you're a little bit limited, and also the loading still is quite high. Yeah, it's not the most practical car, but the raciest car they have. Now we're joined by Carsten Pries, Head of Product Management BMW M. And of course, I could just tell you, tell us how great your car is, But I could also challenge you a little bit and ask you, why would I pay 30k more for 40 horsepower more in comparison to the competition?
The M2 CS is obviously even more sporty, even more dynamic than the regular M2 competition, and it certainly has an increased exclusivity as a special model of our CS family.
So where do you see the different models from non-racetrack use to pure racetrack use when you go like from the normal M2 up to the real racing car?
Well, M2 competition owners and fans, as we call them, certainly want the most sporty, precise, agile driving that you can imagine in this class. The M2 CS owner will certainly go a little bit beyond. He may even go onto the racetrack. And then on top of the M2 CS, as you know, we have just announced the M2 CS Racing, and this is purely designed for club sport activities.
So what would be your, if you would pick one feature, what would be the most favorite one, like the golden wheels today? Or?
It's a combination of a lot of things, as you can imagine, starting with the engine power increase of 40 horsepower to 450 in the European type. Then obviously all the lightweight details that we have, starting from the carbon fiber roof, the carbon fiber bonnet, the front splitter, the rear diffuser insert, the gurney. Also in the interior, the lightweight seats, the lightweight center console. So there's a lot of lightweight stuff in the car, improving the power-to-weight ratio even further.
But the most significant technology change would be suspension-wise, that they took over the technology from the M4. Would that be like the most significant change?
Adaptive M suspension certainly has an impact on the overall behavior of the car, but the enhanced power and the improved power-to-weight ratio is responsible for the acceleration of some 0.2 of a second, even faster than on the M2 competition. So overall, it's something you will certainly enjoy in combination with a very good sound. So there's been some fine-tuning as well. It's a really good package, I should say.
So we have the all-new Grand Coupe here as well, 2 Series Grand Coupe. Could you also imagine something like that for the Grand Coupe?
I think two-door coupe is probably the most sporty body variant you can think of in this segment, and this is why we're including all the independent or exclusive proportions of the car, like the wide track. Are very happy with this car, and the customers are very happy with it as well.
Yeah, we also had some viewers who were afraid with the all-new 2 Series, with the coupe, that it will also be front-wheel driven. But that's not the case for the coupe then, right?
No, this coupe is rear-wheel driven. And it still comes with a manual transmission. I think that's also important to mention, because on the M3 CS and M4 CS we had MDCTs, but here you have the choice between manual transmission and the MDCT.
And the rear-wheel drive will also be, just the same for the next generation 2 Series coupe, not unlike the 4-door model.
A little bit too early to talk about the next generation when you have a highlight like this here on the show, but we obviously like rear-wheel drive cars, in case that the power is adequate to rear-wheel drive, and we can still get the power to the ground.
You're talking about power. There's more and more electrification coming, also for sports cars, and electrification is nothing, bad for sports cars. Still, people want also like true sound, especially in this segment. So, what's your approach at BMW M? How you want to go for the electrification? Are you like all in the future, or do you find some compromise, or will you delay that? What you do for the core brand, for the BMW M? So what's the approach?
Like with all technologies, we carefully look at what does it take, what do we need in order to fulfill the expectations of our customers and fulfill our own individual product targets. So electrification will be handled in the same way like all-wheel drive, for example, was, or turbo technology was. Once it qualifies for an M high-performance car, then we will definitely look at it in a deeper way. But for the time being, we still have to concede that there are some technical aspects that need to be considered carefully, like the additional weight, the recuperation that electric motors are capable of in these days. So I think there will be a little bit more time going down the road until we can say the technology qualifies for an M high-performance car.
So when you think about the M product portfolio, which car, if you have to pick one, for driving yourself, just like every day, which one would you go for?
Well, today I would definitely go for the M2 CS.
Of course.
Being a big fan of the M2 competition already, because this is obviously the core of our brand, to have comparatively compact cars, that are light and that have a lot of power. I mean, that's the perfect formula when you want to be as close to motorsports as possible.
So the first guy you see driving this one here on the road, probably this guy, right? Thank you so much for the insight.
Thank you.
And now to the conclusion for the day with the BMW M2 CS. Yeah, of course, it doesn't make sense to go for this upgrade price-wise. If you consider, the horsepower upgrade you get, you'll be just fine with a normal BMW M2, and of course also with the BMW M2 competition. So yeah, this is just, top of the line if you don't care about the money, if you want the sportiest M2 there is, without going to the real racetrack car. So this one here, of course, you can still get the license plate for. That's probably the most important thing then here. Do you like that approach? And would you actually go for the extra money? Yeah, I mean, just a few guys will be able to afford that here for a 2 Series BMW. What's actually true, and I agree to the product manager there, that this one here, the compact car, is really rather the core of the BMW M brand. Because the big cars, they're just too heavy to be, in this very sporty heritage from BMW. And, the legendary cars were not necessarily the most, the biggest ones and so on, and the one with most horsepower, but rather the ones that were really sporty because they were the most compact ones. So pretty interesting. Design-wise, I mean, it still works somehow also on the street. Of course, it looks a little bit aftermarket-ish if you compare it to the normal M2, yes. So the normal M2 would be a little bit more subtle, more elegant, but that's up to you what you prefer. This one here, as I said, still on the old platform, and as far as my information goes, even if they didn't want to admit that here yet, that the all-new generation will still have the rear-wheel drive, because they will still feature it on the 3 Series platform, then on the new 3 Series platform, whereas the Grand Coupe of a 2 Series is featured on the 1 Series platform, then also with the front-wheel drive. So this will still be the differentiation. So what do you think? Give us your feedback, and also tune in to other 2 Series reviews of us. We also have the new 2 Series Grand Coupe as 235i. Not driven yet, but maybe if you watch this video at a later stage, then we will have driven it. So also follow us to stay updated here with new videos, also for the BMW M cars here at Autogefuehl.